The ninth studio album from the British rock outfit Radiohead marks their return to the scene 5 years after their previous album, which drew a range of mixed reviews from many critics. With themes revolving around love, regret and acceptance, as well as other non-related themes which include climate change and other politically motivated issues in the world, A Moon-Shaped Pool sees the group focusing on a more sparse and ambient style of album, with an appearance from an orchestral string arrangement which shows a more vulnerable and aching side to the group, all the more emphasised by the fact that the album coincides with the recent divorce lead singer Tom York experienced from his partner of a quarter of a century, which is noticeably echoed in his vocal delivery. Keep in mind that many of these songs have been a part of the Radiohead setlist for a while, only that they've never seen the light of day until now. The main theme of love, separation and desperation is the core theme on this album, and at some points it can become quite desolate, even to the point where our lead refuses to accept reality. This can be found on tracks like Present Tense, where in order to fend off the inevitable, York inexplicably proceeds to dance as a way of distancing himself from the truth. Daydreaming also follows suit, capturing the mentality of someone who openly admits to wanting to live in a fantasy as opposed to the real world. Everything around them is crumbling and the idea of resuming such an existence isn't an option for them. And Dex Dark also addressing the issue of facing the truth of the situation, using spacecrafts as a metaphor for the fact that no matter how long you try and ignore or put off something as obvious as a decaying relationship, these issues are not going away anytime soon and will at some point have to be addressed. Things get particularly bleak on the album's closer, True Love Waits, which sees York pretty much begging his lover not to leave him and that he would be willing to do whatever it takes and change whatever necessary in order for this person to stay. It's a rather sorry state, but one that's incredibly sentimental and heartbreaking to boot. The act of pleading to the other to stay and help stave off their loneliness is found on the song Tinker Tailor Soldier Sailor Rich Man Poor Man Beggar Man Thief, where York uses stark imagery to concoct this notion of being consumed by darkness and asks their other half to bring some light into their life. And the track Identikit also goes down the road of heartbreak and misery, where due to the effect of having one's heart broken, many go out of their way in order to recapture the good that love brought into their lives and find another person and recreate those emotions as quickly as possible. The notion of addressing the issue of breaking up as well as facing up to some home truths as to why everything went to shit is the focus on the song Full Stop, where the protagonist states that it's the other half's fault for the way things have fallen and tells them to look in the mirror and face their issues and shortcomings, highlighting that they may not like what they discover in the process. Then you have the songs that go in a completely different direction. The two most politically charged tracks on the album are Burn the Witch, the album's opening track and hands down the best song on the album, and The Numbers, the first seeming to have an underlying message about immigration and using archaic imagery about how some shut the door on these people and try and ignore these people exist, also highlighting the media's involvement and their condemnation of people on either side of the argument. And the second track seemingly to be about climate change, how one day humanity will ultimately return back to the earth in whatever form, and that right now we have a say and have power over the earth's condition, and that humanity needs to improve its attitude and treatment of the earth as a whole. The song Glass Eyes see our lead feeling a sense of isolation and separation from everyone around him, creating this detached aura that strikes strongly on the listener. And finally Desert Island Disc, which seems to read as the lead's passing into another life and feeling his spirit go free and wander whatever realm is waiting for him. As mentioned at the start, there's a focus on a more orchestral heavy approach that is capable of creating some rather sparse yet pretty instrumentals, the best example being the album's opener Burn the Witch, with the Cole Legno strings creating an intoxicating high-pitched percussion style delivery and the more bass-heavy string instruments creating a gorgeous low drone in the background. But for the most part the group ventures down a more art rock approach with some inviting moments, but some don't leave as much of an impression. Some of my favourite pieces can be found on the album's final track True Love Waits, with the lingering piano keyboard creating a particularly sad and longing feeling which closes the album out beautifully. The Numbers, with its expressive piano licks and inclusion of tambourine, loose acoustic guitar strumming, strings and synths in the final third. Glass Eyes offsetting its desolate lyrics sweetly with its droning cello strings in the background, pretty violins and soft piano. Identikit with its bouncy guitar opening, the drumsticks constant striking of the drum frame and brief inclusion of synthesizers, and the acoustic guitar led Present Tense with a shuffle style beat that's played off nicely with the layered harmonization of the vocals. I also like the soft acoustic delivery of Desert Island Disc, and probably would have liked this song a little more if the vocal delivery didn't leave me on the verge of sleep. But like I said, there are some tracks that don't leave as much of an impression on me. Daydreaming goes down as my least favourite track, not only for its lyrical skeletalness that fails to really hit home, but the instrumentation leaves me feeling bored as opposed to emotionally gripped. Whilst I like the imagery conjured up on Dex Dark, a part of me can't help but feel that if any song needed some strings in order for the track to feel more complete, it would have been here. Plus the use of a drum machine in place of real drums feels completely wrong. I don't find myself myself embracing the synth-heavy full stop, especially in the second half of the track where the mixing overshadows the vocal delivery entirely, and Tinker Tailor picks up when the strings enter the song beyond the halfway point, but personally the sparseness feels a little too drawn out. Whilst it's definitely better than their last outing, I won't go out of my way and say that this is Radiohead's best album. I do find that the sparseness can be a little trying on my patience in some songs, the vocals can become a bit unintelligible, and lyrically some songs manage to have more of a lasting impact than others. Hell, the ones where the theme of heartbreak and love lost seem to pale in comparison to the more politically motivated tracks. But overall I do find myself being drawn to the relatable nature this album conjures up, and do find myself being emotionally drained at some points. So in that regard, this album is a success. Overall, I score this album a 75 out of 100.